shut down. Join me in pledge.
So let's talk about this impending national emergency with Kenneth Vecchio, attorney and Republican strategist, and Rob Taub, columnist with Newsmax and also a television and radio commentator. Gentlemen, thanks to both of you for being here. You know, national emergency, the president hinted at it weeks ago. Now it looks like he's going to go forward with it in that direction. Good move or desperate move?
No, I think it's a great move. The president has won with Congress. He's getting over $1 billion. The shutdown, which was way overblown because we've had so many shutdowns, it was a few extra days longer than previous ones, resulted in ultimately Congress giving over some money. He has a legal authority to utilize executive power to put money into building the wall that he promised the constituents of the United States. That legal authority has been in place since the 1970s, and he should utilize it. Sure. Now, look, Derek, let's take money away from things that we don't need. We've got troops in countries throughout the entire world where 75% of those countries, we don't need troops.
Right. I mean,
remove them, put money into the border, secure our borders.
There's an argument, though, that he may not get the money and that he's going to obviously face some legal challenges. And I wouldn't say that the president won here, right? I mean, he got a lot of pushback from Democrats and is not getting anywhere near the money he wanted, right, Rob?
Look, was sitting in the green room eating the delicious caviar, and I was trying to think of an analogy for Trump, and it just hit me. He's like Evel Knievel, who was a daredevil in the 1970s and made outrageous claims, engaged in crazy acts that usually ended in failure. And that's what's going to happen here because there is no emergency. As my grandmother used to say, define emergency. You know, in my house, it meant we were running out of scotch. But in Donald Trump's world, it's an emergency that he's contrived that doesn't really exist. And we don't need to do this. It's wrong, and it's going to end up with bad repercussions and blowing back.
Thanks, Rob. I'll be your dictionary, and I'll define emergency for you. The emergency is that we've got millions of illegal immigrants entering our country, sucking up our natural resources, making hardworking taxpayers like me, the people that are in this room, pay for them, pay for their college, pay for their living expenses, pay for their cars, pay for their cell phones, pay for their food.
These immigrants are also helping, though, the American economy. They're working in a lot of places and helping, you know, the workforce as well. Not always stealing
coming
jobs.
In here for years.
We've got enough American citizens to fill the jobs that we need to be filled here. We've also got enough legal aliens to fill those jobs. We don't need the illegals coming in and sucking away our resources and our money and our space. We don't have enough space. We don't have enough room. We don't have enough money. We don't have enough resources. That's a national emergency.
Okay, and this is a bipartisan thing. Read an Inspector General's report from the past 20 years about our border. All the information is there. I've been covering the border for years, and we've wasted billions and billions of dollars on trying to secure our borders, and we failed miserably, and we're going to continue to fail.
Here's how we're not going to waste it. We're going to build a wall that Donald Trump promised United States citizens who voted for him and for all United States citizens for their benefit, and that will help keep illegal aliens out.
Heard a lot of promises.
The president also promised Mexico would pay for it, and it doesn't seem like that's happening either, right? I mean, Rob, we were looking for money to come from elsewhere, not from our coffers.
Look, I consider a national emergency when there's a hurricane that destroys homes and wipes out a city. I don't see an emergency happening right now, and I don't think the majority of Americans will agree with you that there's that kind of emergency.
But the other side of that, though, is the president has said, and studies have shown, that there are a lot of Americans who do want a border wall and that they support this idea.
I think the polls are clear because by, I guess there was around 50+ million people in the Electoral College swayed in the way of Donald Trump that they want a wall built. This is what American people want. And your definition of an emergency is clearly different than other people's definition of emergency.
Let's back it up to before that. Donald Trump, as president, as a politician, needs to understand the rudiments of our government and political procedure, which he doesn't. You could learn this in a high school mock Senate. He's supposed to be a great deal maker, but he had both houses of Congress, and he couldn't pass a bill to make a wall.
How can you argue that this isn't the work of a great deal maker when he's getting over $1 billion from Congress to help build this wall, barriers, whatever you want to call it?
Because he could have had more 3 months ago.
Plus he has the legal authority to take money for national emergency reasons, and it's not just pulling money out of thin air. He's going to move it from other areas where we don't need it, like fighting this phony war against drugs. I don't take the typical Republican position about how bad it is with the opioid crisis. Pull money out of that. The losers who decide to use opioids can fight their own crisis.
You say he has the legal authority, though, but there's a lot of people who say he's going to be challenged and fought tooth and nail on this legally, and that at the end of the day, he's not going to get...
Because he's not a king. He thinks he's a despot. That's why he embraces people like Kim Jong-un.
This isn't the work.
We have a process that works here politically.
This is not the work of a king. Every branch of government, including the judiciary, by the way, has powers of the purse. Take the Supreme Court when they handed down that illicit, erroneous, unconstitutional Roe versus Wade case. They opened up the coffers for a few $100 billion, if not $1 trillion industry for abortions. So every branch of government has its power of the purse, and he has a legal power of the purse through executive authority to take money from one area and put it into this national emergency and build a wall.
Remains to be seen. Something, though, we can all agree on, though. The president will at least sign the budget and border security bill, not have a government shutdown. All agree, I think, that that's a good move.
Yes, hallelujah. Okay.
Right. We don't want to see another shutdown.
We've reached a quick decision here.
Kumbaya moment here on stateside.
Awesome.
Thanks to you both.
I hope Donald Trump was watching this.
We'll see, right? Kenneth Del Vecchio, Rob Taub, thanks for coming.
Good to be here.
Absolutely.
Well, coming up on this Valentine's Day, the inside scoop